We've been working for some time on taking a look back at a lot of the initiatives that the office has been involved in across the board for many years, and starting to build sort of a structure for understanding how we can begin to sort of formulate a perspective on our impact. When we're designing a project, we'll prepare a set of deliverables, and that's documentation that includes drawings, but also includes specifications. So the interesting thing that the specs do is they sort of help define kind of how you execute the work, but it's also the opportunity for us to define who we would prefer as suppliers on the particular project.
And so in a way it's a very complex dance, because when you choose materials for many different reasons. It could be as simple as cost, maintenance, the quality of how that material is able to change over time. And so if you're picking, let's say, a metal, for example, let's say we pick copper, and there's a certain number of fabricators out there. Where they're sourcing the material is not something that architects really get involved in. But this is one thing that sets SHoP apart from others, is that the way we use technology, we actually develop information in our models that we can actually send directly to the fabricator. The way we tend to operate is through model-based delivery processes, where we're actually modeling the building, not necessarily drawing the building or drafting the building, and we're able to go to a high degree of fidelity, where we can, if we wanted to, we could actually model all the screws if we wanted to get to that level of detail. So what became interesting to us was, how could we take information, risk data information, and embed it directly into the model? And this is when Sharon Prince, who's the CEO of Grace Farms and also the founder of Design for Freedom, said, I want you to meet this person, Kimberly Randall. And she has developed this web-based application where you're able to put inputs, material inputs, the fabricator inputs, the industry inputs, and be able to get back a theoretical risk data number. And we were like, this is very powerful. If we feed all this information to her, we would actually get some quality data back.
So we're able to see with a high level of precision how a certain piece of steel or a batch of concrete could actually begin to impact an overall risk for a project as it relates to forced labor, and how that can be influenced by regional selection, regional location, how that could be influenced by quantity of material, how that could be influenced by any number of factors as well.
So what's been really exciting working with Kimberly Randall and her company Fair Supply is how we can supply quality information, whether it's fabrication, who the fabricator is, what the materials are, what the quantity of those materials are, and feed that information into her forced labor modeling platform, and then receive information back on what those risks would be with those particular materials and suppliers. It's just the beginning. But what's exciting to us is how we take that information and we actually embed it back into the model. And an added value that they're also providing is they can also provide us with the embodied carbon. Right. So it's like all this information become true data points where you can click on the steel, you can click on the concrete, understand how many cubic yardage of concrete or tonnage of steel you have, or what kind of glass is it, an IGU, 3-layer IGU. You can actually begin to understand what the risks are, right, the theoretical labor risks. We're able to take that data and create a library of source information that we can apply to future projects. And we can begin to have conversations then with fabricators. We can begin to say, hey, have you considered looking at this particular source for this material versus this one? But the key is not to get this information, especially this critical information coming from Fair Supply's theoretical modeling, and then put it into a paper document. It actually goes right into the model, and you can click on it and see it. And it's that kind of visual intimacy that we think is going to be really critical to sort of accelerate the education and understand how we begin to really combat these challenges.
And with that goal in mind, we've been working hand in hand with Fair Supply to start to develop access into the API so that our ultimate goal will be to effectively be able to run this analysis on the entire portfolio of projects in real time. And again, ultimately with the goal of empowering all of us that are making decisions about which material to choose or which supplier to go with.
We're sort of pushing each other to take this to a much higher level. For example, two of the challenges that we face, Fair Supply and SHoP face in this space is, how do we also get quality spend data? And once we have a better sense, like how much certain materials cost,
right,
how much it takes to fabricate and work those materials, depending on where you are in the world, we can then start to have a more informed conversation with our fabricators and actually, begin to review the material and say, hey, we see that this might be a better material to work with, but also understanding that it may have much less forced labor in its production.
Right.
And that is the kind of power that not just the architect and the builder and the owner, but everybody around the table can influence and process.
Right. So to that point, we can also begin to have these conversations with our clients as well, and have sort of a picture on where, how we might direct certain decisions throughout that process. Or if we're looking at, an opportunity to actually make change within an industry, it gives us an opportunity to understand at a greater level of detail where that risk lies. Is it with the supplier? Is it with the region? Can we begin to start to influence that as well?
Well, we're finding through this relationship with Fair Supply and the use of a model-based delivery approach is that people are seeing those risks collectively. People who may not even be architects might be seeing things that inform our design or vice versa. And that's what we think is really exciting, is creating a much more collaborative, intimate relationship throughout the whole process. It's exciting because it seems like we have an idea of a roadmap.
Right.
And there's so many companies out there who are also looking at this that there seems to be a real chance for a wave change.